and welcome to Soul in Balance. My name is Alicia and I'll be bringing you a report on the full moon in Taurus that'll be happening on the 25th of October at 3:45 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Now, what is going on? The energy is still so chaotic and it seems like it's just forever up and down at the moment. So 1 minute we're curled up in a ball, not knowing what's going to happen with our lives. And then the next minute we're having massive revelations and ideas and striking thoughts come into our mind of how we want to move forward and how we want to progress and how we want to let go of our old attachments. And then bang, next minute we're back on the floor and all our trauma and childhood wounding is coming to the surface. So yes, there's a lot going on and it doesn't seem like it's going to ease up. So this full moon is going to be pretty intense. So stay tuned and I'll bring you the report. Okay, so full moon in Taurus. Alrighty, so we have the moon, which is at 1 degree of Taurus, and like all full moons, it's opposite the sun, and the sun is at 1 degree of Scorpio. So we've just started Scorpio season. So at this full moon, like all full moons, it's about releasing, and we're going to be releasing, you know, the aspects of Taurus. So you need to find where this falls in your chart, and so which pretty much means what house, because that will tell you what area of life you're being affected. But as a collective, this is what this video is more about. I'll explain what is going on. So at this full moon, like all full moons, like I said, it's about releasing, letting go of old stuff. And you know, Taurus is about, you know, being stable, you know, being our own self-reliance, you know, loving ourselves unconditionally, you know, not caring what anyone else thinks, being in our own paddock, you know, having our own space, you know, having what's beautiful and our desires and our needs being met. And you know, next to that is Uranus, which is the radical change planet. So if our life is getting stagnant and not moving, and you know, we're really not in the best position, Uranus will come along like a lightning bolt and just cause absolute disruption or just destroy the whole situation, just so we get moving and start moving into the direction that we need to go. And this is going to be opposite the sun that's in Scorpio, and that will also be joined Venus retrograde. So like I said earlier, we've been going through the Venus retrograde process. So it's been a bit of a balancing act. On one hand, we've got like striking ideas and revelations and wanting to move forward and, you know, wanting to detach from our old conditioning and our old attachments and what's not serving us. And then the next moment, we're in a ball on the ground, you know, and our life's in pieces and we don't know what we're doing and we don't know where to start or how to pick ourselves up. And then the next minute, it's back to having revelations. And then the next minute after that, it's back to being on the floor. So it's just this up and down process that we're really needing to balance out at this full moon, because they are going to be opposite each other. So at this time, we're really needing to, you know, express what's going on, what's really, you know, stirring in our heart, you know, and especially look at what connections that we've got, especially intimate connections, you know, romantic connections, sexual connections, you know, how we share ourselves and our body with somebody else. You know, is this person or are these situations serving us? Is this person connected to me? Is this person connected to my truth? You know, is this the type of person that I want to be with? We really need to be evaluating what is real for us. And if something's not real, if something isn't touching us at a heart or deep heartfelt level, then it's not real. It's something that's surface. You know, it could be, you know, like a way that society or how you were raised, or, you know, like the media has told you how relationships should be. It could just, you know what I mean? So we need to be kind of releasing releasing these old surface attachments and old surface connections to people because they're not being of service. We need to follow our heart and what our heart wants and what our heart thinks is real. And I think it's a time to just sit back and reflect and ask your heart, you know, what do I want? Like, what do I really want? What do you want? What do we want? You know, it's even like an inner child process as well. Like, what is the best for us? What is the best for me moving forward? What do I need? What really fulfills me? And we're really kind of seeing on such a global aspect that, you know, relationships that are more of like a surface level relationship, or they're old toxic connections, they're really just falling by, you know, the wayside at the moment because they're not of service. And you know what I mean? So it's just a really tough time in general, and it's not just relationships. This will depend on where it falls in your birth chart. So I stumbled upon an amazing goddess called Eureka, and that is the picture that I just showed. And she is an Orisha of the wind, the lightning, storms, death, and rebirth. And I felt that she's an amazing goddess to be working with at this time. And she's a goddess in Nigeria. And I feel like what she represents is what is being represented at this time with this full moon, as she is holding a lightning bolt and a sword. And you know, there's, you know, like a tornado in the background, and she's also depicted with a bull, and that also, I believe, represents Taurus. And with the lightning bolt, I just feel like, and that's like Uranus in the picture as well, I feel like she really is representing that radical change that we're really needing to bring forth right now. And as she also represents death and rebirth, I feel like that also represents Venus retrograde in Scorpio, that does, you know, mean death and rebirth and transformation. And that is what she brings about, transformation, getting rid of the old stagnant structures that we're really needing to let go of. There's no point trying to hold all these broken pieces together anymore, because we're only causing ourselves more chaos and more heartache trying to hold these pieces together when we know it's not working. We know it's not what's in our heart. We need to let go of our old connections. And you know, it's not anyone's fault how we've got these connections going throughout our life. Is just from old trauma or old learning or old teachings from society or our parents, or you know, what we've kind of been, you know, what we've had shoved down our throat is what connections are. So at this time, I feel like, you know, working with this goddess Oya is going to help bring about the change that we need. So at this full moon, we've got a few other aspects going on that's adding to the mix of all the craziness. So we've got a grand fixed cross, we've got a grand trine, we've got trines from Saturn to this new moon, and we've also got trines from the from Chiron in Pisces out to Jupiter and Mercury. So I'll explain what all that means. So from this cosmic perspective, as we have all these changes and radical, you know, explosions kind of happen in our life, and diving deep into what all the Scorpio stuff that we've got going on with the Venus retrograde, we've also got Saturn making aspects out to that. So that is kind of like a helping hand. It's like some stability in the chaos, something that we can build on, and you know, as we move forward and let go of the rubble. So yes, at this time we are getting a bit of helping hand from Saturn. And we've also got aspects out from Chiron in Pisces, and that brings about lots of healing, the healing that we need as we, you know, realize the trauma and the pain that we've got inside us that we've been carrying for so long. And it's not even just trauma from this life, it's trauma from, you know, generations and generations, and the bloodline that we're kind of releasing this trauma for and moving forward into the new direction. Yeah, so we're all all, you know, sitting with so much stuff. We're all got all our stuff and all our pain and all our issues and, you know, all our attachment stuff all in our face right now. So, you know, like we're all kind of feeling it. So don't feel like you're alone in any way. I don't know one person that is, you know, not affected right now. So yes, and we've also got Jupiter in Scorpio getting to the late degrees, and we've got Mercury there. That's the planet of communication, and that's why I've kind of said throughout this video that it's really important that we start expressing what we've been feeling. We've gone into like the closet of Scorpio and we've pulled out and seen all the skeletons that are in there. And, you know, like Mercury has gone past Venus and made communication with, you know, Venus retrograde and expressed, you know, needs there. And then now it's going to Jupiter, the planet of expansion, and expanding on that communication and what needs to be said and what needs to be dealt with moving forward. And, you know, if we look at what Scorpio is, you know, like that's our psychic connections, you know, like that's death and rebirth. That's all the stuff that we hide in our shadow side and all the stuff that, you know, people don't like to see on the surface, you know. So we really need to be bringing out those skeletons from our closet. You know, it doesn't matter what other people think, you know, as long as you're expressing and getting it out, that's all that matters. That's what healing, and like that's healing, and that's what healing's for, is to get this stuff out. And if we don't shine a light on what's in that cupboard, you know, then we keep soldiering on, traumatized. And it is traumatized. Like some people are really good at hiding that, do you know what I mean? They have fantastic jobs, or they're workaholics, or do you know what I mean? Or they just hide themselves in relationships or behind a partner, or, you know, they're addicted to drugs, or they are, you know, addicted to social media or playing video games or watching movies or whatever it is. People hide, you know, all the stuff that hurts them, all the traumatic stuff, all their pain. And it's really time for that to all be cleared out so we can be so much lighter moving forward. And that is why all this stuff's happening. That is why, you know, Venus is retrograde in Scorpio right now. So we finally let go of that old stuff. And if we have a think about as to when there was the last Venus retrograde, that was in 2010. So, you know, have a think about back in 2010, what relationship dynamics were going on for you in 2010, and how does it correlate to right now, what's going on in your current situations? Have you dragged those, you know, that hurt and pain from that situation and, you know, started it, and it's still carried on up until 2018, and you're doing the same thing, holding on to these attachments that aren't serving you? And, you know, it's really a time to clear that away. And we are about halfway through Venus retrograde. Usually when the sun conjuncts a planet, during its retrograde phase, it usually indicates that it's halfway point. So Venus is at such a low point right now. If you highly identify with the feminine, you will understand, you know, how, you know, disempowering it's kind of feeling right now. Your energy is just so low, and especially in relationships, you could even feel like your relationship is at such a low point that you can't even get up from it. And you know what, you might have to make that decision of whether, you know, you want to keep that relationship, especially if it's not serving you. We really need to be looking at our relationships serving us. If they're not serving us, then we need to get rid of them so we can move forward and be in better relationships for you and your partner. And it's about being unconditionally loving as well, because if you really love someone and you really care about them, you will let them be with somebody who's more suited to them. Do you know what I mean? Like holding on to somebody for your own you know, old toxic connections and old toxic ties because you've been wounded from the past isn't of service to that person, isn't love, and it's not loving yourself either. So it's really important that we kind of really let this go. But, you know, like if you want to hold on to something, I feel like, and if you do feel like it's something that can be transformed, then there needs to be communication. There needs to be an adjustment in relating. Like there needs to be some balance brought about and transformation. But if that balance can't be brought about and that transformation can't be brought about, then these relationships need to really be kind of let go of. So yes, there's really a lot going on. We have, you know, like the nodal axis will be changing into Cancer soon. So at the moment the North Node is in Leo and it is at 1 degree, and then that will be moving into Cancer. So all the last 18 months we've been dealing with coming into our heart space, being our authentic selves, finding our creativity, just loving ourselves for who we are. And that's going to be moving into Cancer, the late degrees of Cancer, which will be bringing up even further, you know, like our issues with nurturing. Were we nurtured? And this is going to make us, you know, come more into nurturing ourselves if we're not already. So there is going to be the change in the nodal axis very soon, and yes, this full moon kind of marks that change. So really, we really need to be putting in the groundwork right now to start moving forward, because if we don't start making those changes, do you know what I mean? Like we're just going to have more and more chaos and more stuff thrown in our face. And I feel like at this time, you know, like if you're really off course, if you're really off track in your life, that's when you're going to get more chaos and more disruption. The more closer you are to your truth and your soul path and the destiny of your heart, then you're not going to get these so much radical, you know, disruptions and chaos in your life. So you know, at this full moon, you'll get a bit of an indication of where you're at in your own truth as well. So yes, there is a lot going on, but yes, so we're halfway through Venus retrograde, so a few more weeks to go. So yes, if you got to this point and you're okay and you're still loving yourself, you're doing a pretty good job. Okay, so full moon in Taurus. So what I suggest is that we all sit there and ask ourselves the question, what do we really need? You know, picture yourself as that bull in a paddock. What do you really need? What can you get rid of? What doesn't need to be in that paddock anymore? What isn't serving you? What is stopping you from being your own self-reliance? And what is, you know, hindering your happiness and your desires? You know, there's no point keeping attachments and connections that aren't meeting you at such a heartfelt, deep level. You know, like get rid of these old desires that you used to have 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 5 years ago, 2 years ago. They're not going to carry, you know, they're not going to go forward with you. Your desires and who you are is changing. We are all evolving. So it's time to let go of those old ways of relating, those old ways of attaching, those old ways of being. You know, we're really being called to be in our heart and be our true selves. You know, like look at the bull. The bull doesn't care what anyone thinks. The bull is happy just being himself, eating grass and doing his own thing. He doesn't care about what anyone says. So we really need to just be living, you know, to how we want to live our lives, you know, not worrying about what people think or what society standards are or what our parents think or our work or, you know, anything external from us. All that matters is how we feel and what we want, and is it aligning with our heart. If it's not aligning with our heart and our true needs and our needs from such a higher perspective as we evolve, then it needs to go. And it really is hard to let go of these old attachments. We are all going through it. You know, you're not alone. And you know, the process of feeling like you're on the ground and everything's falling apart, and then the massive revelations and, you know, striking, you know, Eureka moments is just awesome. And if we can try and find some balance in there, that'll be great. And it's really helping us along, even with Saturn in the mix as well, trining out to this. You know, like we do have that stability there, but you know, there is also those Saturn tests of, is it really what you want? Like, and if it is what you want, and then you'll just keep going and keep working through it so you can be and have the best of what you need. So yes, at this time, you know, like I wouldn't say it's a grounding time. I would say it's, you know, a very radical time. And, you know, a lot of people do say ground yourself to the earth. But like I've said all year, I do believe it's a time for grounding ourselves within ourselves. You know, and doing that and helping yourself do that is to honor your authentic self. When we're honoring our authentic self, when we're honoring what we really need, and, you know, putting ourselves in a place of vulnerability, because it's also, you know, it's a little bit tough to, you know, be your real self or express your real needs, you know, because then you have to be vulnerable. You're putting yourself out there to get hurt or for someone to judge you or someone to reject you. Well, you know, you've got to not think about that right now. All that matters is how you feel and what you want. So express what you need, express what you want, and, you know, completely ground yourself within yourself. Be who you are 100%, because we've got so many people that are all the same out there. You know, we don't need any more of the same people. Just be your authentic self. And at this time, be kind to yourself. Have compassion for yourself. It is really a hard time. You know, personally, I found myself giving myself a hard time because I haven't done all the things that I've wanted to do. And, you know, I've just been so up and down with emotions. So, you know, a lot of things haven't got done. And there's so many other people feeling like that as well. So, you know, have compassion for yourself. It's okay to go through the process. It's okay to just fall to the ground sometimes, and then you always just get yourself back up and realize, hey, it's not so bad. And maybe the stuff that you didn't get done, maybe you can get it done better the next day, or do you know what I mean, in a better way, than instead of trying to soldier on when you're not okay. So yes, that is it for me for this full moon in Taurus. So if this video resonated with you in some way, please subscribe to my channel. Or if you think this could help someone, please share it. Or if you'd like a reading from me, please contact me on the information provided at the end of my video. And I will see you soon. Have a fantastic full moon in Taurus and many soul journey blessings.